But on the subject of Braun Breaker, just talking about NXT, yesterday, I think it was, we're talking on Thursday, yesterday, September 14th, did mark exactly 1 year since the rebrand of the now former, or I guess now current, black and gold NXT into NXT 2.0, the Rainbow brand, as people have called it since then. Curious on what your thoughts on the overall view of the brand was, because early on the show was really not that good, and I would say it took a while for the brand to really find its footing. The quality of the shows, as we spoke about, we don't really review the show weekly here, but, the great was great and the bad was bad. But I do feel in the last at least month or so, they've done an effective job of weeding out the weak stuff, and it's still a developmental show. It is now more developmental than it has been in probably close to 10 years, because they have a lot less established talent, but they are on primetime television for 2 hours on USA Network, which doesn't help matters. They still have a lot of people that need experience, but they also have a lot of people that have gone over and have become big stars in the last year that we weren't previously familiar with prior to NXT 2.0. That being, as I mentioned, Braun Breaker, probably being the biggest star of the bunch, becoming Superstar of the Year for NXT. That was a no-brainer. But then you also have Carmelo Hayes, who did not debut under the NXT 2.0 banner. He had already debuted a few months prior to that in June of last year, but he's been a big star for the brand and really highlighted as the North American champion in the last year. Solo Sikoa just became the new NXT North American champion, which we'll get to momentarily. Grayson Waller had a great last year. Toxic Attraction, Mandy Rhodes was already obviously established, but they've become a big part of the women's division in the last year, and you brought over a lot of people from NXT UK as well. Pretty Deadly have done well for themselves. So just as far as the talent development in the show is concerned, what has been your overall take on NXT 2.0 in the last year as we reach this 1 year mark? Has it been good, bad, or somewhere in the middle?
I would say, looking at it as a whole, I would say it was good. Like you said, I think at first, obviously, the direction went a full 180. So it did take a little while to get used to. Like I said, the shows aren't recently with the whole new regime change. I feel the shows have been more palatable. I mean, some of them were just godly awful. It was only good to watch the main event, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, I think when you're looking at it as a whole, they've made a lot of new stars. So I think that's what I'd point to. Breaker's a big star. Carmelo Hayes, Solo Sikoa, Tony D'Angelo. I liked him.
Oh yeah, Tony D'Angelo.
Roxanne Perez. I feel like I'm missing out on plenty of people. Like I said, Pretty Deadly's been good. The Creed brothers have been doing a lot better. Toxic Attraction as a whole. I feel like they've done great, and I think that's what they've been focusing on, bringing up those younger stars, and I think they've done well, and I think we're starting to see some more seeds for newer people coming up, but I think it's worth it. And yeah, at first it was pretty rocky, but I think they might be going back to the black and gold, but I think they're still going to focus on developing talent. So I think at first, if you're going off as a whole, I'd say it's more of a mixed bag, but looking at the last couple of months and the stars they have made, I think it's more of a success than a failure.
Yeah, they created a lot of new names out of fresh faces and a lot of young talent as well coming into the company. And, not to say the original NXT wasn't a success. That would be very stupid to say, and people might say, oh, what happened to Aleister Black and Keith Lee? They're not there anymore. Yeah, it's no fault of their own, and that's not NXT's fault. They created this. They didn't create the stars. They were already stars in the independent scene. NXT just kind of gave them a platform to showcase their skills. They get called up, get misused, get let go, or leave on their own accord. It's happened a lot. I think the biggest benefit to NXT 2.0 has been Triple H taking over the main roster, because at least now there's more synergy between NXT and the main roster. You would have never, ever, ever, ever seen someone from the main roster go to NXT, win a championship, and then either stay there or bring it to the main roster. And I know Dolph Ziggler did that when Vince McMahon was running NXT or running the main roster or whatever earlier this year. Dolph Ziggler did that with the NXT championship. But other than that, though, we don't know what's going to go. We don't know where we're going with Solo Sikoa as the North American champion. That has potential. I don't know if he's bringing it to SmackDown or if he's going to stay in NXT or if he's going to pull double duty. I don't know. And that's why I'm excited to see where they go with it from here. But we'll get to that in a moment. But as far as the talent, I feel like Braun actually has a bright future ahead of him, not only in NXT, but now on a Raw or a SmackDown. And I actually have faith for Solo on SmackDown and Grayson Waller when he gets called up. And even the other people that were already in NXT, like Santos getting called up and people like that. I have more faith for them now than I did originally when Vince McMahon was running the main roster. So they've created several stars, and I think they've had some good shows as well. The weekly shows aren't always the best, but I think the specials have been great. And I also heard you talk about the black and gold. We'll talk about that now. Your thoughts on the video package that closed out NXT on Tuesday with a potential rebrand. Now, we're not going back to the classic days of NXT, but I do think they can strike a balance between what the black and gold brand really highlighted, that being the in-ring action, and then NXT 2.0's development of new stars. If you can hit that balance, I feel like that's the sweet spot for NXT.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think you have some veteran people down in NXT that can have good matches. I think there's plenty of people there. And like you said, and then there's still some character development. So I think they don't have to go back to, like you said, the black and gold, like amazing indie guys and all that shit, but like a good mixture of both. I mean, I think that's what they're going to go with. And I mean, the whole Rainbow brand, that was fine for 1 year, but I mean, NXT's black and gold. So if you can hit the mix, like you said, it would be a very good show.
Did you hear the rumor that they're bringing back takeovers going forward as well?
They should. I mean, they should start touring again, too. I mean, the fact that they're at the same... I mean, I'm kind of over the PC crowd. I feel like it's just like... It's the same with the Full Sail crowd. It's like they like what they like and they shit on what they do, and it's just like not... It's not a good gauge of the fans because it's like the same people every week. I mean, if I went to the same show every week, you get the same reaction out of me. So maybe they could hopefully, like you said, with the takeovers, travel a little bit more and kind of get more of a different gauge of different fans. But I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think it's great, and I think if they're going to be making Halloween Havoc a new takeover going forward, hey, I'm all for that. That sounds fantastic. So it is funny that it took Vince McMahon, leaving power to bring back takeovers. I mean, it's really just a name at the end of the day, but it just makes more sense. If you're going to have these quarterly specials, you may as well just call them takeovers. So I think it's cool, and it sounds like, as I mentioned, Halloween Havoc is going to be the first one back under the takeover banner in October, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, no, I feel like if they can kind of strike that balance between the in-ring action, creating new stars, like we've kind of seen in recent weeks on the show, I feel like that's the best case scenario for NXT going forward.